Off.
Well, Tommy, thank you so much for joining us for Back to the Beach. Let me tell you something. I never knew that people loved Back to the Beach until I met this lot. I never knew that anybody else had even heard of Back to the Beach before I met all these crazy ghoul friends. Yes, I had seen
you're
it.
so young. You're just a young gun.
A young gun. What are you holding up? Oh, look.
Soundtrack. Sorry, I couldn't get the laser disc, but I got the soundtrack.
Oh, right on.
So
by the
we
way,
did-
on that note of the soundtrack, you could probably read it on there. And I don't know if he produced all the songs, but he did produce the final song that we all get on stage for. Was Michael Sabella, who did Maniac.
Oh,
he produced
that is so
song.
awesome.
And yeah, because I have a picture of Lori and I in the sound studio with him, a picture of us that I just sent to her recently.
Oh, wow. But I never knew people loved this movie until I met this lot. And then Helena has been saying for almost, 2 years, we got to do Back to the Beach. We got to do Back to the Beach. And then we met Jared and then Randy and Polly, and they love Back to the Beach as well. So I'm going to take a step back, Tommy, and have my fabulous co-host tell you about the first time they saw Back to the Beach and what it means to them. So y'all can go in any order.
I can go if you want. Name is Helena, and I am the film geek of the crew. And I saw Back to the Beach. We rented it from a tiny video store in Albany, Oregon in 1989. I think we rented Back to the Beach and we rented Beetlejuice. And we watched both of them. And my parents saw Beetlejuice and said, don't let her watch that because she's going to turn goth. So I didn't get to watch that one. I didn't get to watch that one more than once, but I did love Back to the Beach, and I watched Back to the Beach like 5 million times after that and got my copy and did all of that kind of stuff. But Beetlejuice was a no, but Back to the Beach, A-okay. Good family entertainment. No, not going goth. Although, I mean, really sort of Pee Wee Herman kind of led me to goth anyway, indirectly for other things. So yeah.
Well, that's a good one. And thank you for seeing it numerous times.
So many times. I tried to show it to some friends the other day, and two of them loved it, and the other one was like, I don't understand this. And I'm like, you don't have a heart. Get out of my house.
I see Pee Wee keep making an appearance. Polly?
Yes, no, I'm a huge Pee Wee Herman fan, and I discovered this at a very young age. So I grew up in the New York City area, so we had a channel called Channel 11, and they would play just like movies all afternoon on Saturday and Sunday. And this was around the time when Pee Wee Herman had the show on CBS. So in the morning, I think it was like 11:30 was like Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Yeah.
At the end of every episode, I would be bawling my eyes out because it would mean I would not be able to see Pee Wee Herman for another week. At Saturday afternoon on Channel 11, while I'm watching this beach movie that like I'm really into, and I discovered ska at a very young age because of it.
Yeah, Fishbone.
Yeah, Fishbone. He shows up, and my 4-year-old mind is blown as, wait, he just left. He left the TV, and now he's in a movie, and he's flying on a surfboard after that. So after like convincing my parents that this movie actually was a thing that I didn't make up in my head, when I was bringing up like Annette Funicello, I think I called her like Annette Fettuccini, but they put it together. And then they realized, oh my God, no, this is an actual movie. And then we got the rental of it. So pretty much like I've seen this movie maybe like a dozen times over like the course of my life, but it is such a fun romp, and like Aunt Becky from Full House is in it. And then Annette and Frankie Avalon also being in the Pee Wee Herman Christmas special. So I figured, some wires got crossed there.
Cross promotion, definite cross promotion.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, just a fun beach movie that, it looked like a lot of fun to work on. So
yeah, for sure.
And segueing into Annette Funicello, we've got Annette Funicello reincarnated right here.
Let me
Hello
see. Oh yeah.
Look
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
I didn't have time to run to the market and get my Skippy peanut butter, but I did. So my history with Back to the Beach goes prior to that because I grew up watching the reruns of the Mickey Mouse Club, the original Mickey Mouse Club on the Disney Channel. And like in 1984, 85, they reran all of the Mickey Mouse episodes, and then they reran all of the Annette Funicello movies that she did for Disney, like Baby Boyland and The Monkey's Uncle and things like that. So I was just naturally fascinated by her because I knew her from she was the Skippy Peanut Butter Lady on TV just regularly. So when I started seeing the previews for the Back to the Beach movie, I was excited because I was like, oh boy, I get to go to the theaters. I thought I was so cool to go see Annette Funicello in a new movie. And my parents were like, what did we do to you to make you think that like current? But then the fact that cameos were made by people like Barbara Billingsley and Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow, like these were people that I grew up watching on Nick at Night and the TBS reruns after school, Leave It to Beaver and things like that. So I really felt like this movie was being made for my 9-year-old eyes. Then also, I remember when the VHS tape of Back to the Beach came out at the same time, I also rented Beetlejuice at the same time. I remember simultaneously, TBS was re-airing the Beach movie. So they re-released Beach Party and Beach Blanket Bingo and Bikini Beach and How to Stuff a Wild Bikini. So each day of the summer, there was a different 1960s beach movie that corresponded with the day of the week. And so then I would watch the 60s movie and then I would rewatch Back to the Beach and I would see if anybody was making a cameo and what I could pick up from what was going on. I just love Back to the Beach. Pee Wee Herman, all of the different cameos. I had the Pee Wee Herman doll as well. I had the shoes. That is just a piece of my childhood unlocked. And so when they just mentioned in passing that we needed to do this movie, I freaked out. In particular, the scene where you gave Frankie Avalon the concoction that cured his hangover and called it a little...
Keith Richards. Keith Richards lives on these.
Yeah.
My brother and I wondered for years if that was something that actually worked or if that was something improvised, and you just answered the first question I had for you. That was wonderful.
I'll tell you this about that. All the stuff that you see me put in there was for real. It was all real, and he drank it. He drank the real thing with the Coca-Cola and the aspirin and the instant coffee.
Oh
I remember if there
God.
was something else in there.
How many
drank,
takes? How many
and I think
takes?
I think he drank it twice.
That's a trooper.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that was Frankie. That was Frankie, you know.
I love
And our Randy in her beach getup.
I saw Back to the Beach for the first time. I was very young. I want to say maybe like, oh wow, like 5, 6 years old. I remember it being all the time on HBO back in the day. Me and my sister used to watch it together all the time. Every time it was on HBO, we would always sit in the living room and we'd watch it together. We'd dance, we'd sing to the songs. Like it just unlocked such a core memory for me because it just was just such a great time because it was just such a fun movie. Like my sister and I used to have a blast watching it together. And I thought it was funny because right before we found out that we were going to be doing this podcast, my sister texted me and it was like, we haven't watched Back to the Beach in a really long time. She's like, I'm staying over next weekend. Can we watch it together? I'm like, absolutely. And then I got the message from James. He's like, we're going to do Back to the Beach. I'm like, are you living in my brain? Because I just got that text from my sister saying, let's watch it when she stays over. It just brings back so many wonderful memories. It's just such a fun movie. I love it so much.
I was a late bloomer to it. I didn't see it till probably I was 22. And I loved it because of, I was born in the 90s and everything of that nature. So I loved cult musicals. So I saw it and I loved it because it reminded me of Grease 2 and it reminded me of the Pirate movie and all those other cult musical classics. But when I met this lot, they have such a special love and affinity for it. And I'm just so happy that they get to talk with you and share their love and admiration because they were telling me things that I didn't even know. They told me about Skippy peanut butter and this, that, and that, and the other. And it just went right over my head. And I'm just here to be regaled with
Oh,
80s nostalgia and 80s history.
right on. Right
James
on.
is the youngest of the group here. Yes.
But Tommy, when you got this role, was it like, how did they sell this to you? So, I mean, would I compare Back to the Beach too? So I don't know if you all can correct me. Back to the Beach, of course, is the 80s. And what it was representing was the whole late 60s sort of. There's having nostalgia for that. It sort of reminds me of what the Brady Bunch movie was trying to do with the Brady Bunch. That's what it reminds me of bringing in the Brady Bunch into the 90s to sort of poke fun but pay homage. So how was this sold to you?
Well, I had done my first job ever was it was off the air before you guys were born, but I had a series called Hard Knocks. It was one of the early Showtime series starring Bill Maher and I. And I was a doorman at a comedy club in New York from 83 to 86 called Catch a Rising Star. So I knew a lot of comedians, and I had just moved from New York to LA in late 86, September. And I was walking from a party that never happened, and I told my ride to leave because the party was just going to start late. It was my first Hollywood party. And then the party never happened. I didn't have a ride. It was a 3-hour walk back to Silver Lake from West Hollywood. And I'm like, I'm an idiot. I'd only been in town for 2 weeks, looking like a rookie. And I'm walking back to Silver Lake, and I walk by the Improv, and I'm like, oh, hey, I probably know a bunch of comedians. Sure enough, Ron Zimmerman, writer, comedian, is in the doorway. And I'm like, hey, Ron. He goes, Tom, you're an actor, right? I go, yeah. He goes, did you move here, or are you here on vacation? I said, I just moved here. He goes, okay, you know Bill Maher? I go, yeah, I know Bill. He goes, well, I'm a writer on his new show. He's playing, it's called Hard Knocks, and it's about these two oddball detectives. One guy, Bill Maher, has long hair, he's super smart, and he hates violence. But then there's this partner who has short hair, he's really dumb, and he loves violence. That's you. I'm like, okay, great, thanks. I go, but I'd never done anything. I'd never been on television. I just did off Broadway in New York. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to embarrass you. I'm all good. He goes, Tom, you have to come in. I go, I don't want to embarrass you, man. I've never done anything. He's like, please, we've seen over 200 actors. We can't find this guy. So I'd go in there. I take a bus to Paramount. I fall asleep on the bench outside the audition. They're like waking me up. I'm like, oh my God, are you okay, Tom? I'm like, no, I'm fine. He goes, oh, you need some time? I go, no, we're good. So I go in there. I get the part. I'm starring on a show, my first audition, leading a series. And then I'm doing this a show called Brothers on Showtime. They just gave me a part with Fiona Apple's dad, played my boss.
Wow.
Such a small world. Brandon Mager lives in New York. And then Chris Thompson was rewriting Back to the Beach. And he wrote and was the creative guy that did Hard Knocks, going back to Hard Knocks. Chris Thompson is the one that did Bosom Buddies that discovered Tom Hanks. Oh. So Hard Knocks was his new show. And his wife, Lyndall Hobbs, Australian director, was the one that was directing Back to the Beach. And she thought, oh, he could be perfect for Mountain, the best friend, David Bowe's part. So I was Mountain first. So I do Mountain. So I'm going to be Mountain. 2 weeks go by, and kind of hearkening back to the Hard Knocks thing, I get a call from the producer saying, hey, Tommy, the part of Mountain is yours. We love you in that part. We can't find anybody to play the lead. Would you mind coming in? I'm like, yeah, sure. Whatever you need. So I go in, get the part, and next thing I know, 2 auditions, leading a TV series, leading a movie. I'm like, oh, Hollywood's so easy. Come to find out, 20 years later, it's not so easy. But yeah, but that's how that came about. Lyndall and I are still friends. We still stay in touch. And on that note, because obviously I can't stop talking, the little baby, the little punker baby in all the surf pumps.
Love it.
is Lola Rose, who is Lyndall and Chris Thompson's daughter, the newborn baby.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I
That's
love that
awesome.
scene so much, and that's why I have this. I'm pointing in the wrong guy. This guy, I friggin' love this guy. He's probably one of my top 5 characters in the whole movie.
He's
So I
so
have
great. I'll tell you, that stuff came off so great. And by the way,
Oh.
yes, the whole time I'm filming, loving my stuff, I'm jealous of the stuff that they're doing. They got to wear the cool outfits. They had, I thought, some of the most funny stuff. You know, Joe Holland knocked it out of the park as Zed.
Totally.
You know, it was just great. It was really a good ride.
What I'm curious, this is for everybody that was around in that particular era, and this is for you as well, Tommy. How did they sell that they're going to do a musical to try to bring the whole beach party blanket sort of genre with Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon into the 80s? Was that an unusual sell, or is it something?
Not unusual for the time at all. I mean, in the
Yeah.
late 80s, there was a big resurgence of like that kind of 60s stuff. It was very
Yeah.
chic at the time, and that like the Monkees had come back to Nickelodeon and had aired, and everyone was watching the Monkees, and that was like huge for a lot of kids like me. And then Monkees put out a new album, and it just the whole zeitgeist. There was like Batman was rerunning on TV, the
Yeah.
old Batman, so
Yeah.
everybody was into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was
It
also a
was, you know,
series called,
yeah.
Still the Beaver. That was a reboot of Leave It to Beaver called Still the Beaver, and it ran for a couple of seasons. And so
Oh.
people were used to that whole reuniting of families.
Oh, David's here.
Oh, hello.
David's here. Mountain's here.
Reunited.
Yeah,
We're-
and so
we're-
what I remember
we're-
from the trailers is that they were telling us that the whole gang is back, and you'll get to see all of your favorite people from all family favorites are reuniting for one more trip back to the beach. And the way that they the trailers, it had cameos, like you saw Pee Wee Herman in it, you saw Leave It to Beaver, so you kind of went to it hoping to see when these crazy people were going to pop up, even
Yeah.
if you didn't know Annette and Frankie, you went just to kind of see what this craziness was about.
Gilligan.
So
Yeah,
what's that?
Gilligan.
Gilligan.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Dick
Yeah.
Dale. I mean, I love
That
the
was
joke
awesome.
about Dick Dale is like Dick Dale will be playing here for the next 7 until like 2014 or something.
Yeah, like yes, yeah, that was funny. Yeah, so just like some of you, what one of you mentioned earlier, you know, I'm 63. I was born in 1960, so I grew up watching Leave It to Beaver and Gilligan's Island and Happy Days and all these great old movies, and Get Smart, and all these people were in the movie. All these people I grew up watching on television, I'm doing scenes with all of them. And they were all great. Everybody was super cool. I mean, I had a couple of scenes with Get Smart with Don Adams, who, by the way, was in World War II. He lied about his age. I think he was like 16 or 17, and he was in World War II. But it was just, you know, just hearing stories like this from people and getting to see them. And again, everybody was cool. But it was such a fun movie. Right on.
Y'all look like y'all are having a good time. Is David with us?
I don't see him I don't see his video on yet, though.
I see the box, but I don't see
Yeah.
anything going on there.
Well,
We
he's
always
older.
always
He's
have-
older like me. Maybe he can't figure it out.
There's always at least one person, and sometimes it's even one of us who's like, I don't know where the button is. I mean, that's me usually.
But why David, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but why David comes on, I was always curious because, oh, hello, David.
He made it. Hey.
Why don't you show him how to turn the microphone?
Don't worry, he'll edit all of this out.
David said, Tommy, why David gets his audio on, he said that you and him did an interview with Rockula recently. Dean Cameron.
I don't think so.
He
Rockula?
played Rockula. Dean Cameron played Rockula, but he was also in, I think, was he in Fast Times at Ridgemont High? Or
Oh, Dean Cameron. No, I thought we did. I thought you said that we did an interview with. I didn't do an interview with them. But we've hanged out. We've hung out before and got together, and I'm still in touch with Dean, and yeah, Dean's great.
David, can you figure out how to turn the audio on? We'll have to edit that part out. We always have this issue. If I don't have this issue, Zoom is something else. But I was just curious, why David comes on about if there was a nostalgia factor when they were making Back to the Beach, or was it something like forced nostalgia, or was it like organic nostalgia, do you think? Like there was something in the air that made Back to the Beach possible and successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you guys are going to answer that much better than I, because I think that I was just so in it and still new. I mean, that was just my first movie and my third job. I think that a lot of the smaller details maybe just went over my head. I'm just trying to fit in and do the best job possible and to be thought of as a cool dude to all my TV idols.
Totally. You have to think about 1987 was kind of like, for me, 1987, 88 was like the perfect distillation of the best stuff of the 80s, because you had that, the boomers kind of looking back at their childhoods and harvesting all of that stuff. I mean, Pee-wee's Playhouse is basically a celebration of the 50s in a lot of ways, and that
That's a
aesthetic
good
was
call.
really popular. Like, and you mix that with like Memphis, and it was just fantastic, like visually, that was just everywhere. So yeah, there was a really fertile ground for that kind of nostalgia and those vintage things.
I mean, as like a growing up in it, I mean, I was only like 4 when I saw the movie, but like looking back and like really understanding like media and how this was being presented, it was also it was a bold move to be as meta as this movie was in the 80s too. I mean, to include like, Gilligan and Pee Wee Herman and pretty much like ripping on everything that came from those 1960s beach movies and transposing it to the 1980s and making it work. And I mean, this movie was successful. I mean, Siskel and Ebert, who hate these kind of films, loved it.
Yeah. I think that I think a lot
of
of the critics did love it, and it did help us out that Siskel and Ebert both loved it, and they really, really loved it. But it didn't do quite as well as they had hoped. I think Paramount was really hoping that was going to be their biggest, their big summer movie, and it just didn't do as well as they had hoped. I also just don't know that I kind of think that Frank Mancuso Jr., he was the producer on it. His dad was like the head of Paramount Senior. And I think they were just kind of hoping it was going to take off by itself without a lot of stuff. Because I don't remember ever seeing that much publicity about it. And I don't think that they really got behind it as they could have got behind it. I've talked to Lyndall, and she kind of felt like they kind of sold her down the river a little bit because, she was a firebrand. And, she really spoke up for herself, and she wanted her own first AD, and they didn't appreciate a lot of that. So they weren't necessarily there for her, but she had a vision, man. And I thought that she did it beautifully. And the movie that she crafted, I think, as you guys love it, I think it's a special movie, and to have a movie that is that kind of specific, like you said, this whole meta thing about bringing it into the future, that it still holds up. It's still campy family fun that is enjoyable. That you're along for the ride.
And the
David, you got your. Oh, sorry, probably wait. A moment. That's okay. David's now connected to audio, and so if you could unmute, we could be able to hear you.
When can we see him? Do we get to see him?
Oh, he's there.
I can see him.
I could say him.
I don't see him on my screen.
You might have to give your computer permission if you're using a Mac to use the microphone.
Connected to it.
Like I said, we'll edit this all out.
Yes, we'll definitely edit this all out. Unless someone wants to
there
decide.
he is. Whoa! David Bowe!
We need subtitles.
I think, are you on mobile? Can you hear me, David? Are you on mobile? Okay, so you have your microphone next to the stop video and you just click it. Because you're connected. You just gotta unmute it. Do you see it on your screen? Who else is on mobile?
I'm on mobile. Let me see. If
You
I
wanna send
click on my screen, it'll
screenshot
be, yeah, like you said, next to stop video, there's a microphone and it says mute or unmute.
Yeah, take a screenshot of it and put it in the chat for him if you
Okay.
can.
The power of
This is
This is
technology.
hard. Yeah.
By the way, this is what it was like working with David.
Well, of course he played Mountain. Of course he was stoned, right?
Oh,
But surely, I mean, we can ask that. Surely they didn't give y'all real ganja on the beach. I would like to think
let's
it
give him
was, but
issues.
It was Hollywood in the 80s. I mean, there's probably plenty around.
probably code.
Yeah, there was probably a lot of coke around, though I can't speak to that.
There we go, David.
Oh, okay.
Oh my stars and garters! I'm actually here.
I'm on the
Good thing that
podcast, all about
look
IT
like I
support.
just got out of the sauna.
Hi,
Thank
buddy.
you so much for coming.
I had a thing where I could see everybody at the same time. I don't know where here it is. There we go. What's happening, kid? I got to say, I was thinking about when we made this movie. I don't know how long ago. My very first feature film, first big screen debut. We got to work with, I mean, obviously Frankie and Annette, legends, but Stevie Ray Vaughan. We got to, listen to Dick Dale and Stevie Ray Vaughan play Pipeline. We got to,
Amazing.
and then the finale, Tommy and I were up on stage singing, for the big finale song. That was a lot of fun. And I had done musical comedy my whole, life in school. So my first movie was a musical. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
And-
David, I think I didn't realize that was your first feature as well, because that was my first feature.
Oh, it was. Oh, wow.
So yeah, so we lost our cherry, so to speak, on the same movie.
Hmm. Well, I don't know if you told the story, but I wouldn't have gotten the part if you weren't so damn good an actor. I originally did not get the role. Mountain went to Tommy Hinkley, and there was an offer out for Lori Loughlin's boyfriend, and I guess he passed or something better came along. They moved Tommy up to the boyfriend, and David Bowe was second in line for Mountain, and Mountain Surf Report, was born.
And by the way, nobody could do Surf Report as you did it, man. You really made that your own, and I just love that.
I've heard that little sting where I stick my tongue out and they go into Pipeline on like sports shows and stuff. Shine those spots! It's totally cranking right here. That kind of, wow,
Love it.
Oh my God.
that was scary.
Y'all gonna have to do some quotes for us. Y'all gonna have to act out something for us.
Oh my
But-
God, yes.
Yeah.
But before we get around, David, how we were at before you came in, I asked Tommy, how did it feel to be in the 80s, to be in a movie musical with Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon and Connie Stevens and Gilligan and all of the 80s, I mean, all the 60s and 50s royalty?
It was a dream come true for me. I mean, I grew up, I had two older sisters and they loved the beach movies. So I knew them all. I knew Eric Von Zipper and, of course, his son is Michael Lembeck. Harvey Lembeck was Eric Von Zipper in the original beach movies. I don't know why I just told you that, but I used to, my sisters had the albums, Moondoggy and, all that was Gidget, I guess. But yeah, so when we started working, Tommy and I were looking at each other like, what are we doing today? Oh, we're just going to hang with the Skipper and Gilligan and Connie Stevens. How's that? Does that sound like fun? And then it's, we're going to go watch Dick Dale and Stevie Ray Vaughan play Pipeline, or we're going to hang out with Ed Kooky Burns or Jerry Mathers and Barbara Billingsley and, of course, Tony Dow, for the big surf off.
Just so iconic in so many ways.
Not to mention Don Adams.
Yeah.
One of my
Yeah.
heroes.
Yeah.
Love
And
Kids.
Lori Loughlin?
Oh,
Yeah.
what's not to like? she couldn't have been nicer, sweeter. This guy got to hold her in his arms,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think we even got to make out. Okay, so on that note, so Lori Loughlin, she was engaged at the time to a guy who was a financial guy working on Wall Street and leaving his name out, but he was in New York City, and so he would come and visit her sometimes. And so I had the crew always inform me when he was on the set.
On the set.
And so then when I knew he was on the set, I would then I'd wait till they were both in the trailer together. And then I would knock on the door pretending he's not there. And I go, knock, knock. I go, hey, she goes, hello. I go, hey, Lori, it's Tommy. Do you want to work on that makeout scene? And pause, and Michael would go, and he would go, very funny, Tommy. And they're like, welcome to the set, Michael. We'll see you in a bit.
That's very
Good thing
funny.
he wasn't a wrestler.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I mean, not only is a beach movie, but it's a musical, which we love. So how did it feel? Was that sort of intimidating that you knew that you were all going to be in a musical?
What was intimidating to me was I had like a one-page monologue that was like my, big group on the beach before we go out to surf. And they decided to do that on the first day of filming of the 6-week shoot. And of course, it's the one thing I didn't learn completely. I thought I had a piece of it and we could, work it out, and just not the way it works. You got to get a master, you got to do, singles and Lyndall just threw her arms up in the air and says, fuck it, let's move on. We'll do it another day. And they never went back to it. That was a bummer. But
I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
So what was it about? Do you remember what it was about?
It was kind of like guru-y, like I was sitting, cross-legged, and the gal, I can't remember the gal's name, played my girlfriend, the red hair.
Yeah.
Robin, yeah.
And then just me talking to, Webby and the dudes, and we're gonna hit the green room, man. It's gonna be cool. Something like that, By the way, I have a cold. I apologize. I have a bit of a cold. So.
All right. Well, no making out with David then.
Well, and I forgot. We also got to do 2 other songs. We got to join in with Fishbone on the beach.
Yeah.
As they were playing away, and of course, Paul. The bird is the word. Paul Rubin.
God, that was such a great night.
The late great Paul Rubin.
And
so much fun with that guy.
He was such a trooper. He was such a trooper. Paul Rubens, all night long, he was on his game. And I mean, it took forever to film that whole scene. And he was just in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an all-nighter, and he was great, and he was just on from beginning to end, and super cool, and signing autographs, and just great. Yeah.
Yeah. Ironically,
sorry, go ahead, David. No,
I
go
was
ahead,
going to say,
David.
ironically, I did another movie called UHF, the Weird Al Yankovic movie. We filmed that in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and all of a sudden on the news we see Paul Rubens arrested. Adult theater or whatever. Next thing I know, he's standing next to me in Tulsa, got out of LA, and came to hang out with Weird Al on the set of UHF when he got arrested. Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
totally remembered me from working on the movie, of course, and just a nice guy, very nice.
Super nice. Yeah.
So as you can see, David and Tommy, these are massive Back to the Beach fans. They've come in sunglasses and beach wear, and Darren's dressed like a net. Darren's a net with his with the Mouseketeer ears. So I want to let y'all take the floor. Do y'all have any questions about Back to the Beach, the making of it, the music for David and Tommy? I know y'all do, and I'll let y'all have the floor.
Well, I don't want to monopolize, so someone else go. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night.
Well, now there was a rumor that actor behind you was Johnny Carson's son. Like it was like he was an illegitimate son or something, or an affair that he had.
Wow.
He looks like someone's illegitimate son.
Isn't that
And
weird?
I love that personally. He's my
Hollywood gossip.
I
he's like
just
my favorite.
make things up. It's all good. No,
I just
I
had a little
remember
baby
someone
with, like, a
talking about that on the set.
Adorable.
But go ahead, guys.
I'll go first. Before I get on Back to the Beach, I just want to say one thing, Tommy. Knowing that I was getting to actually talk to you today was really exciting because you made a cameo on one of my favorite shows of all time. You were on the Golden Girls.
Oh,
Wow.
You
oh,
were Andy, the
yeah,
cameraman.
yeah.
Legendary. Legendary.
Yes.
That was, thank you. That was so much fun. And they were all so great and so supportive. And by the way, I feel like I'm just going to be droning on and on about everybody I've worked with and how great they are. But that has been my luck my whole career, is like, with the exception of one person, everybody has been so cool and supportive. It wasn't you, David. It was a guy that, forget it. Anyway, but I asked them to sign my script, of course, and they all signed it, but I didn't realize it until much later. They signed it as their characters.
Oh.
And so they would say something
Oh.
like, Rue McCallaghan was like, "Hey, big boy, it was so great working with you, and maybe, blah, 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 blah." And then
Wow.
there's someone else. So they all signed it in character, and that was really a super
How
great
long
thing.
did you and Rue McClanahan date?
By the way, still the most residuals I get are from Golden Girl. That pays like the
Wow.
biggest residuals, because people do love it, and it plays worldwide, all the time.
I watch
Yeah,
it every
it runs
single day,
so
all day long.
There you go. She's paying your salary there.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you.
helping you out big time. You are very welcome. But sorry, I just had to bring that up because I thought that was so exciting when I saw that and I realized everything, and I was like, oh my God, I had to bring that up. So,
Thank
but
you.
back to the beach. This goes to both you and David. Like every scene in that movie is just phenomenal. It's fun. It's campy. It's just so exciting. For you personally, what was your ultimate favorite scene to film?
David, go first.
Um, I think that there's so many musical numbers, and obviously the night that we did Surfing Bird, Bird is the word rather, with Pee Wee, but doing the finale, with all the characters on the stage and the music, and you were saying like every scene looks great, and because the art direction, the costume design, everything was top. This is Paramount Pictures. This is like a big studio film. I was excited about it coming out and doing well, but unfortunately we didn't do that great. That's okay. UHF opened opposite a movie called Batman with Michael Keaton. That didn't
Yeah.
fare so well. And Indiana Jones, yeah. So that was a pleasure love.
Oh.
But both Back to the Beach and UHF have become huge cult classics, and if you've seen it, you know why people like it. But I think the finale was just so much fun for me. Just to be up on the stage with Frankie and Annette and Dick Dale and Connie Stevens. Who actually knew? I knew. I did plays with her daughter Jolie at
Oh,
Westlake.
that's awesome.
We did The Boyfriend together and Annie Get Your Gun, and I, been to her house, and she totally, it was neat. It was fun.
Right on. For me, the one scene that really stood out for me was the one where it was just Frankie and I'm making surfboards, and it was a
Right.
scene that I actually used on
In
my
your
demo
hut?
for a number of years. What's that?
In your hut, like you had your own little surf
Well,
hut or
no, it
something?
was. I think it was. Well, they shot it in the bottom of.
Under
Yes.
Mountain Surf Report. Yeah. Now I
Yes,
remember,
they
yeah.
shot it at the bottom, and of course that big tower is still there.
Lifeguard station. Yeah.
Yeah, the lifeguard station. And I think that we shot it out of sequence only because it was a rainy day, and so
Right.
they had to move something indoors. And so we shot that scene, and it was special for me because I kind of felt that was one where I could kind of sink my teeth into it as an actor. And in a way, I had some nice moments with Frankie working on that. And I kind of felt like that's where Frankie was kind of like, okay, this kid has some chops, like he's the real deal. And so it kind of felt like that was a proving scene for me. That went really well, and I love that scene. So that was something that scene holds a lot for me.
Well, thanks a lot, because that just reminds me that Frankie was sitting next to me during that big, scene that I was going to do, that I messed up my lines, and that would have been my scene. And no, I'm kidding. I'm teasing. But no, that was something else. Working with Frankie Avalon, one of the most, professional guys, was, and just so many stories, and just so genuine. It's a good guy. And of course, so is Annette, and
Yeah.
she wasn't doing 100%. She was, you know, already had her
MS.
MS. Yeah.
Hey, so David, you can help me answer this. If I remember correctly, it was all of Frankie's kids were in the movie. I mean, half
Oh,
were
yeah.
in the band.
In the band.
half
Yeah.
yeah.
Frankie
There were
Jr. was on
surfers in
the
band.
Congo. He was on the
Yeah.
Congo. Frankie Jr.
Yeah.
And his other son was in it. And I mean, it must have been fun for them. I mean, who knows? You know, I mean, it's like deep down inside, it's like, oh God, are we really dragging this out again? Or we might as well have fun since they're going to give it a shot, you know? And I think
they
it
were
worked.
they were totally having fun. Frankie was, as I understand it, you know, he'd have big family dinners, and you know, even for years after. I mean, they were a really tight family, and he really looked
Right.
out for that. And he came across, like David said, you know, this between the two of them. And for David and I, we were very lucky that way. And I will speak for David here at this time, but that was our first movie, and to see professionals work and carry themselves that well and be so nice to everybody. It was like the way that they ran the set. If anybody was an ass, you kept that to yourself because you would be gone. I mean, it was really a super nice, loving, supportive, fun set.
It was a great place to cut your teeth because you were,
Yes.
you know, you're with Frankie and Annette mostly almost every scene. So, you know, they were the ones that you were kind of, you know, getting
your cues from.
Your cues from, what have you. And the other, you know, celebrities had their moments, whatever, but he was there every day and hit his mark and was a good guy.
A note on Frankie, if I might throw one in, is he is in a movie called Blood Song, where he plays a serial killer. It was
Yes.
from 1982, and it is the most ridiculous movie, and he has the most ridiculous motives for being a serial killer. But you can just tell he's just so happy to be acting. You could just tell, like, the joy. It's like he's like murdering people, and he's just so freaking happy, and it's awesome.
I actually have a question.
What year did you say that was? What year?
82.
Right. So just 4 years before Back to the Beach.
Yeah.
Holly?
Yeah, I have a question actually. You bring up a great point about working with like Frankie Avalon and Annette, and this being like your first movie. Did you guys have like rehearsal, or did you do like research into like the California surf scene in order to sort of get your feet wet, no pun intended, in like trying to like play these characters, you know, because you both come off like so genuine in this, and like the fact that like you're saying like it's your first films, that you're polished and you're working with, you know, a titan like Frankie Avalon, and you know, guy that is known for these kind of films. Like, what was your take on?
I didn't know what to expect being my first film and all, but I was just blown away by his professionalism and how he was to Tommy and I, took us under his wing and just, you know, just let us know what was going on if we had any questions. But I'll go first on this one. My mom said that as soon as I could talk, I pointed at the television. I said, I want to go in there. That's where I want to be. And I always wanted to be an actor. And in fact, in the 4th grade, in The Wizard of Oz at Roscommare Road Elementary School, all the songs are sung by the chorus. I demanded that I sing my song solo. I was the Scarecrow. I sang If I Only Had a Brain. And it just took off from there. At that point, I didn't want to be an actor. I was an actor. I was already an actor. And I knew, you know, and my mom was like, well, you got to go to college. You know, you'll go to UCLA, you'll get a teaching degree or communications. And I said, no, because if you have a degree, you're going to use it. If you have a thing, you're going to fall back on it. You know, I'm an actor. That's what I do. And hopefully it'll work out. And knock on wood, I worked for 30 years and made a living primarily working with Tommy Hinkley. No, primarily doing voiceovers. I made a ton of money being the voice of, well, my last big job was IHOP. I was the voice of IHOP for 7 years. So
Okay.
that was something else.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And there's another connection with you and Tommy. He was directed by Ben Stiller, and you were in Heavyweights.
Not only was I in Heavyweights, no, he also hired me for Cable Guy. I was the last character in Cable Guy with your good friend Jim Carrey. And if there had been a sequel, it would have been about me and him. Like I was going to be his next guy that he was going to terrorize. In the helicopters, we flew away.
Helicopter guy?
And then Ben also did A Bud
I
Light.
forgot.
You're in Cable Guy.
Yes, I'm one of the basketball players. And
Basketball game.
I never realized that you were in it, and it just came when you just said that the helicopter. I remember seeing Cable Guy in the last few years, and he get to the end, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's David!" I didn't know I did a movie with him.
It's so
Another
funny.
one. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Right on.
Back to back, Chicken Shack.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Ben has been a good friend, and he used me in a
Great guy.
Bud Light commercial, where with the giant head in the sky. What's his face? Andy Dick. Andy Dick was like the big character in the sky, and I'm on the beach with my girlfriend, and I'm poking him in the eye with my umbrella. I don't know if you remember that one. Oh my
That's
God.
so funny.
Tommy, same question for you from Polly. How was it getting involved in the surfer mentality?
Well, I grew up in San Diego. And I was early on living in Bird Rock and La Jolla. So I was already a beach kid. And you know, I was 16 years old, and my friend was teaching me how to surf, and Jaws came out the next day, and I never surfed again, and that really caught up with me in Back to the Beach, because they asked me if I could surf, and I said no, I'm afraid of sharks. They said, okay, we're gonna send your body double then to your stunt double to Hawaii to film him surfing. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll learn how to. Nope, you're all good. We'll have the double do it for you. Yeah, because you know what? I mean, they would tell me, look at all the sharks are up in San Francisco. I'm like, it's the same body of water. It's the same body of water. Tommy gets in the water in San Diego. They're like, hey, you guys, Tommy's in the water. We can be down there in 7 hours. You know? I'm good. No, I'm good. You know, Tracy's like, let's go over there in the water. I'm like, the swell's over there. I go, yeah, but nobody's over there. They go, yeah, we'll have it to ourselves. I go, no, I have to be surrounded by people. And I'll get help. And I won't touch the bottom either. I'm going to tread water for 2 hours.
Our two biggest back to the beach aficionados, Annette and Helena. I'm calling Darren Annette today.
Ladies, Annette, by all means, ladies first.
So mine is more of a question, like a comments, fun fact / question. So you guys mentioned that Annette was having some problems due to MS during the making of the film. And I know that there was a sequel in the works, and that they had planned on going on an African safari in the sequel, and that they had actually started a Back to the Beach tour. And you guys had mentioned recording the soundtrack. Were either of you involved in the Back to the Beach tour, or were you aware of that or the sequel or any of that?
It was just me in a convertible Cadillac driving around town saying, hop in. No, I'm kidding. I didn't know anything about a tour.
I didn't know anything about it either.
Huh.
Yeah.
On YouTube, I remember they were on Entertainment Tonight talking about what it was going to be like going on tour. And then in the made-for-TV movie about Annette's life, or Dream is a Wish Her Heart Makes, she's actually performing Jamaica ska on stage, and then stumbles and then has to go to the dressing room. And that's when she tells them she can't go on anymore because of MS. And I was just wondering how common knowledge was that, because I remember at the time, I was like 10 or 11 years old. There were rumors floating around that she was an alcoholic. So I didn't know if you guys were aware that anything was going on, or if it was just kind of like another job for you guys and you were just on to the next thing.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, look at David and I, we were working a lot. So we were on to the next thing. And I certainly didn't know anything about that. Yeah, Annette was really an amazing, humble, super cool, and like Frankie, sincere. My first day on the set, they had me in a little bit earlier, but my stuff wasn't until the end of the day. And David and I, we had little tiny honey wagons, that have the little fabric that slides like an accordion, to separate us. That's how tiny it was. And of course, she had the big RV. and she saw me outside the honey wagon, and she waved me over to her RV, and she said, Tommy, Annette, I just wanted to introduce myself and welcome you to the set. I'm going to be on the set all day, and I know your stuff's not till the end of the day. Please make yourself at home in my RV. I have food, I have beverages.
Oh my
You know,
God.
if you're tired, take a nap. I mean, of course, I didn't take her up on it, but that's the kind of person that she was. And her husband Glenn was an equally, great guy, and
Glenn
just
was
very,
there every day. Yeah. Glenn was there
every
every day
day.
by her side, and God love her. She had already been a household name for what, 50 years before we even shot that movie. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's great to
Unfortunately,
hear that she was humble.
Yeah, totally.
And she also had, because you could see that, she'd have a little slouch and she'd have to catch her breath. As soon as the cameras were on, she was on, and those eyes and that smile and that voice, she was great.
Yep.
Oh, that just makes my heart warm, because in my mind, I'm thinking that she was there with Jiffy peanut butter, giving it to everybody and being
Spraying peanut butter on people's noses, which I love that scene where she's putting the peanut butter on his nose.
This is over my 90s head. Helena and Darren had to explain the peanut butter thing to me.
She was a
It's like
spokesperson for Jiffy for many years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like spokespeople weren't just spokespeople, they were the literal product back in the day, and she was Jiffy peanut butter. Like, just like the Mr. Whipple was the Charmin. It's like every brand had a person, and she was that.
Helena?
Well, oh my goodness. Where to start? So yeah, I mean, I just love this movie so much for the aesthetic of it. I love the spirit of it. It just looks so much, it looks like it was so much fun to shoot. And I know James was talking about the Brady Bunch movie before. That's how to not bring the people into the future context. This is how to do it. This is like a textbook example of, like, if you're going to make a movie that brings back characters, this is exactly how you do it. It's so well written. It's just beautifully done in so many ways. And just, you could just sense the love coming out of the film, of just the era and the style and the actors and just everything. And I just love that. And I have to say, for David, Freaked, you were in Freaked, and I love Freaked is such, like, one of my absolute favorites. Like Freaked and Rubber and like UHF, it's like you got some heavy hitters, and I just want to, I'm not worthy
Oh, thank you.
for that,
Thank you
because
so
I
much.
love those are like
Freaked-
my top 10.
Freaks was so much fun. I mean, I only had the one scene, but I did get to work with Randy Quaid, and of course Alex directed the movie. And it was the EES, Everything Except Shoes Corporation, that I represented. And I had like this one big line, and then all hell breaks loose or something. But it was a blast. Yeah, Mr. T, Brooke Shields. How did I end up in so many crazy movies? I did a movie,
Like that's
Made in
a
America.
gift.
Did you ever see that with Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson? I was in that one with
Yep.
everybody in the world was in that movie. But
Great movie.
the thing about Back to the Beach, I wish it had done better, but the people who have seen it got to see a great movie and a lot of fun, and I mean, we don't want to speak ill of the past, but there was one actor who kind of messed it up a little. Stop.
Okay.
What? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course. No, I'm teasing. Tommy did steal a part from me though once. We both auditioned for the good friend on Mad About You. Do you remember that?
Oh, dude, I tell that story. As a matter of fact, can I tell it?
Yeah, you tell it.
Okay. So it's for the pilot, Mad About You, starring Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt. And this is to play the crazy best friend, Jay Selby. And we're both there auditioning for this part, which, by the way, was number 3 on the call sheet. And by the way, there was a big difference between 1 and 2 and 3, of course. But David goes in right before me. Now we're buddies, and we're auditioning for the same part. And he goes in, and I hear people laughing. He's doing great, and he comes out, and he has his shoes off in his hand. And so I go in with my shoes off, and in my hand, I come in with my shoes in my hand. And they were like, "Oh my God, that is so
classic."
funny."
So it was like an explosion of laughter. Yeah, explosion of laughter, because you used my hard work, and then you put a zinger on it, and you booked the job. So
I did. Thank you,
the next
David.
day, I didn't go to network. The next day was network, I think, or maybe that was network.
No,
that
it was that one.
that last.
Yeah, that was the
network.
last time. It was the only time I went in.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, I grew up in the 90s. My introduction to Connie Stevens was Miss Mason from Grease 2, which is another
yeah.
cult musical connection. She
Wow.
seems like a blonde Blanche Devereaux in that movie. How was she in real life?
I had the biggest crush on her when I was a kid growing up. I mean, she was Hawaiian Eye. She was the secretary for Robert Conrad on a TV show called Hawaiian Eye. And just her voice and just her something very, you're a kid, so you don't know what you're feeling or why you have a crush on someone. But and then I got to work with her daughter, which I already mentioned, and got to meet her at her. She couldn't be more lovely. I remember going to a Christmas party at the mansion. It's the same house where they filmed Postcards from the Edge, where which was loosely based on Carrie's. I mean, I guess Carrie, from Star Wars, Carrie Fisher's life. That's what was Postcard, and they filmed it at Connie's house, Connie's mansion off of Sunset. And I went to a Christmas party there one night and sat next to Red Buttons and had Christmas dinner. I mean, long table, everybody was somebody. It was so much fun. Couldn't be nicer. And years later, she had this product idea about acting tapes and this and that. And she had Jolie call me, said, I want David Bowe to be my announcer or something. And so we filmed this thing for her new product. And I thought that was kind of nice that she thought of me, to be the host of her whatever it's called, infomercial. Yeah. What did you think?
We did that scene that was after the hangover, when we had the whole thing. And so it's the next morning, and she says to Frankie Avalon, who's hungover, she goes, "Good morning, Tiger." Sexiest voice ever. And I'm like, I couldn't figure it out. I wanted to get that recording and put it on my alarm clock. So every morning it goes, "Good morning, Tiger." And I was just like, oh, come on, why can't I figure this out? She was awesome. She was fun. And again, also her kids are great too, Trisha and Jolie, and yeah.
One of
And
my favorite lines where you're ragging on my dad, man.
Oh yeah. Spud.
Bud.
Come on, dude, you're ragging on my dad.
Love it.
And you have another co-star who I loved. I mean, Aunt Becky. This is pre-Full House. This is what, maybe a year before Full House?
Yeah, I think so.
How was Lori Loughlin? I've always loved her so much. I've always found her to be so beautiful and so sweet-natured. How was she?
Yeah, that was the other thing too, because she had done she'd done a lot of work already by then. And so for me, she was also my professional, because I was working with her and Frankie and Annette, but she was equally that professional. And she's one of those people that was a super nice and friendly and available, but she was a worker. She put the time in, and she kind of had that driven, that a lot of the real successful actors have, like George Clooney or some people like this, where they're putting the time in. They are always.
What do I have to do? Do I have to do this? Is that? I want to do that. How do I do that?
By the way, you just did it. You just have to keep that up every day. Yeah, you're in the morning. You're in the mirror in the morning. Yeah, you're awesome. You got this. Keep it up.
Lori was equally as beautiful and nice as she was talented. She had all the and unfortunately, I think back to when she got in trouble and I felt so bad for her. I mean, I wanted to reach out and talk to her, but I didn't have any contact information on it.
I'm not giving it to you. I'm not giving it to you.
Well, when you did you have to break up with Rue McClanahan to go out with Lori, or
I did. And by the way, Rue was not happy, and she's vengeful.
Tommy, I have a question. Do you have all your scripts? Did you save all your scripts?
I didn't save all my scripts. I saved the ones that I really, really liked. I do have my Back to the Beach script. Oh, and by the way, Lori gave me, she's the one that started this for me. She gave me a leather bound script holder that
To
had
put your
gold,
pages in.
gold
Yeah.
embossed that said Tommy Hinkley
Wow.
on it. And
That's awesome.
and then I ended up giving that to a couple of actresses I had worked with in later films because she set that example for me
Nice.
and was super cool. And I still have that, and the script is still in that with all my notes on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah, so good,
Well,
good. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
got
No,
one
I mean,
more.
gonna
I grew
say,
up, go for it.
Tommy but dumped Blanche Devereaux for Aunt Becky.
Look at what we've created today. You know, we created this false memory. Yeah.
You guys get
We're
to
gonna
hang out
see this on.
Willow
We're
for-
gonna see this on page 6 tomorrow.
Yeah, a long story here.
Well,
I was
as
gonna
this
ask,
movie
did you guys-
is a musical. Go ahead, Helena,
Sorry, I
sorry.
was gonna say one more thing. Since we're talking about people working with, did you guys get to hang out with Angelo from Fishbone?
No, I
I happen to know him just from hanging out in the music scene in LA. I was good friends with Anthony and Flea, the Chili Peppers, and one of my best friends had a band they were called the Two Free Stooges, and it was a joke band. There was like they come out with cigarettes and you know, it was like a Vegas thing with cocktails and nurses feeding them, you know, cocktails during their show. But the Smithereens and the Chili Peppers liked them so much they opened for them like on tour.
Wow.
But I used to play basketball with Flea and Angelo came one time and played basketball at the back.
I was gonna say my 6 degrees. So now it's like I've been on a podcast with you guys. I've been at Angelo's place and they barbecued for us.
Nice.
That's
That's
awesome.
great.
I wish I'd had my record. I would have had him autograph it, but it was kind of a surprise.
Yeah. Well, just have it in the car, you know, for the next
At all times, in my
There
carry-on.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
As this movie is a musical, Tommy and David, what is your favorite song? Because every song in this movie is really great, but would you have a special affinity for one particular song in the film?
Well, I would have to say it was Stevie Ray Vaughan and Dick Dale just playing, you know, Pipeline, which is just an instrumental. But to me, I'm a rock and roll guy. And that was, I can't believe I'm standing here this close watching them. Unfortunately, you know, Stevie passed away not too long after that. You know, you don't know, you know, it's like first movie. Hey, look at that. Oh, we're over here. And I remember like thinking, that's Dick Dale. He's like the surf guitar god, you know, one of the instrumental, you know, him and the Ventures and other, you know, those other kooks out there. Hey, you kooks. Anyway, but I just remember like I'll remember this for the rest of my life, you know. And I was standing next to Tommy Hinkley when I found it. So
Yeah, for me it was the end song.
We Go On
that we were all
Forever.
up on stage together. Yeah, because you know, also as I said before, I couldn't find the picture, but you know, we were in the recording studio. I mean, David had to be there too, but you know, recording our parts. And on the one day, you know, it was Lori and I doing our stuff together. And it was with Michael Zambella, who did you know, produced Maniac. And so getting to work with him and being in the recording studio and yeah, and then being up on stage and making all that happen and everybody was there. It just was a good way to kind of wrap the movie up. You know, it's fun.
It's very We'll Be Together from Grease too. It's very, I don't even remember what's the song from Grease? I don't even like Grease. What's the end song from Grease?
we go together like
Yeah, we go together.
Remember forever.
That song is so. I always got really sad because I would watch the movie over and over again, and when that last song came, I get really sad because I'm like, oh, it's over.
And then you got Grease too.
Now, okay, note, because this is about Back to the Beach, but I want to say
we're not going there, James.
I loved Grease 2, and I think one of the best scenes ever in like movie history. This is how big I'm going. Peter Frechette singing "Do It for Your Country" in the bum. Oh my God. It's so good. It's
But
so
you
good.
all are part of cult musical fandom. Your cult musical has different connections and it's all tied together. And it has a huge fan base. They came in costumes. So that's why I'm going to leave it to my co-host. Do you have any questions or anecdotes, or do you want to dote on our guest or our poke them for any inside tidbits or behind the scenes about Back to the Beach?
I have a random anecdote that like I only discovered recently because I rewatched it. I'm also a big Star Trek like fan. And I noticed a song in the movie that was made specifically for Star Trek 4. If you remember that film where they time travel back to save the whales.
Yeah, it was actually a very good movie. A lot of fun.
Do you remember the scene where when Kirk and Spock are on the bus and there's a punk guy with like a boombox and there's this punk song, "Oh, I hate you and I berate you." That song is played in the movie in the scene where Bobby is sitting with all the punks on the beach.
Oh,
Right. Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
like, wait,
Oh my God.
good. Right on.
It's like it was like this weird thing. I'm like, I have like the movie playing, and then I have like YouTube. I'm like, no, I'm like putting it together. I'm like realizing, and then I saw that the guy that made that song for Star Trek was also a associate producer, and gets more royalties from back at the beach.
Oh, that's funny.
So funny. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah,
Sadly, not on the soundtrack because that is a great song.
I know.
By the way, just a quick little insert here. The cinematographer for Back to the Beach, Bruce Surtees, whose nickname was, I think, the Prince of Darkness, and he was a cinematographer for every Clint Eastwood movie, and Bad Boys, and Risky Business, and that's one reason why
he was one of the best. He was one of the best. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Helena, Darren, and Randy.
I mean, what more can I say? I mean, I'm not worthy. Like I said, I have down in my video dungeon here. I have the one sheet hanging on my wall, and I've got a Betamax of it somewhere. Yeah, like hardcore. I go hard for. I fuck with Back to the Beach. It's my favorite.
Nice.
Darren and Helena. Darren and Randy.
I just this is just one of these things that I remember seeing this as a kid, and so you don't think 30 some odd years later that you would be actually talking to the actors from this movie. So I just had one of those lynch meet moments a few minutes ago. I was like, are we really having these discussions? Like, am I really dressed like Annette Funicello right now? Like I'm having Listen, it's very cool to have this conversation. So I'm taking it all in.
Yeah.
Right on.
Randy.
Very nicely.
Yeah, I agree with what Darren said too. I kind of feel like I'm almost fangirling in a way because I love the movie so much, and this has just been such an exciting interview and getting to speak with both of you. This is something that I definitely will never forget. In fact, when I'm done, I can't wait to call my sister and be like, "You're not going to believe who I just got done interviewing." She's going to be so excited.
I would love, have you ever heard any rumblings or been invited to do a screening of Back to the Beach anywhere?
I never have.
Yeah, me neither.
Let's do
What
it.
the hell?
Yeah, let's make it happen. We'll show up.
Yeah.
David and I will show up.
It
Heck
got
yeah.
that
Shadow.
Blu-ray.
I
a few
think
years ago.
we should shadowcast it.
I'm
So,
ready.
of course, Shadowcast.
Is that legal? Can we do that?
Yeah, Shadowcast sounds like,
You just have to be very careful.
Try
with
and stop
we
them. Try and
market
stop them is all I gotta say.
Randy and I are in a Rocky
anecdotes.
Horror group. Yeah,
I have
Randy
two
and
more.
Rocky Horror Group, and we shadowcast movies, and sometimes you have to be
Okay.
careful with how you market. But I mean, you can make it happen.
Heck yeah. I was going to say, you said you liked Star Trek. I was on Deep Space Nine. I did one episode. I was Bosso, who worked for I was a Cardassian, or I was whatever it was. I worked for the other side. Be like, someone working for the Nazis during, a Jewish person working for the Nazis. And, and people like, I've gotten fan mail and stuff just in this one episode. I had the little, lines on my nose.
Yeah.
I've had prosthetics a few times. Did you ever do Alien Nation, Tommy? Where they put a slag head on you?
No, I didn't do that, but I did do, and it was part of like the whole Back to the Beach thing. I got to do Star Trek Generations, where the old cast met the new cast.
No way, you were in that?
I was a I was a 21st century reporter,
Awesome.
and I'm on 2 trading cards, and I'm the one that discovers Malcolm McDowell in
No
the
way.
medical bay right before it explodes. And
Oh.
so I got to work with all the old.
I know
Oh,
exactly the
God.
character that you are. He's like, no, I have to go back.
Yeah. Now, by the way, Captain Kirk fell on me. Captain Kirk fell on me.
Chapter fell on you.
It's under attack.
Yeah,
And there's the whole railing that's not really metal. It's painted to look like metal, but it's all cheap wood. And the first AD comes out and says, okay, because it's on hydraulics, so they can shake it, but you have to do the old school, this thing. So the first AD comes out and says, hey, whatever you do, don't throw your weight on the wood railing because it will break. And everyone's like, yeah, of course, we all know that. We're not going to do it. So I'm sitting there on the bottom, John Putch, David Bowe. John Putch is sitting right next to me. And all of a sudden, it starts shaking. He throws himself on the railing, falls on me, rolls off me, stands up. Everyone's like, cut. They're all applauding him like he's the greatest guy in the world. They're like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And he walks off. Everybody walks off with him. And all of a sudden, I'm there with broken pieces of wood on me. I'm seeing a chiropractor for 6 months. Nobody asked me if I'm okay. And I get to say, Captain Kirk fell on me. That's what I get.
It was sabotage.
It
You
was
say
sabotage.
I say sabotage. And did you tell them about the per diem episode where everybody in the movie got a little per diem bag once a week or something like that? And we decided to all put it in a bag, and whatever name you pull out gets all the money. And of course, Tommy Hinkley. Tommy Hinkley's per diem got pulled out of the bag. Was it like in the middle of filming? I don't know.
I think it was early on. Yeah, because they hated me and the thing is that you can't so I didn't know what to do. It was my first movie. This is the first time I've seen something like this. They pulled my name out and I'm like, and so I said to the head prop guy who I knew or something, I'm like, can you just get beer for everybody? And they're like, yeah, that would be great. That would be cool. They're like, yeah, I go, just buy everybody beer. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, but that was a good one. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a good job, Tommy.
This is my last question. But if hopefully one day you guys will come to back to the beach screening and you can get maybe other cast members in the film. Are you in touch with anybody else that's been in the film?
I'm
Tommy
not giving you Lori's number.
Since then. No.
Not giving you Lori's number.
No, I don't have anybody's. Just Tommy and I actually have seen each other several times. We did. I was talking Dean Cameron's anniversary podcast. We played
Rockula.
him. And Rockula, which is phenomenal. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I just saw it recently, and he's gorgeous for one thing. I mean,
oh Lord, yes.
And unfortunately, he lost a little hair on top. I don't know what that does to a person, but
did I do that?
What's that?
Did I do that?
Did you do what?
The interview, the podcast?
Yeah, we did a thing where we did their dialogue, and he had all these sets of people.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. I forgot all. I blocked it out.
They put us together.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we're
I remember that now. Okay.
In the meantime, you guys can see that I don't have any baseball cards or toys or anything. So I don't know if you can see all my crap back there. Good.
I love it.
That's why I have the back.
I'm looking for a cable for my phone, and it's in the car, I think, but my phone's going to die. Please have me back. I had the greatest time in the world. I don't know how much longer you guys have, but I am probably going to disappear,
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming, David.
Great to see you, buddy.
I was late. I couldn't figure out what I was doing, and I have to leave early. Oh my God. Never again. No, one more
cameo appearance.
One more thing. Rocky Horror Picture Show obviously has got to be on top of your list of favorites. I did the episode of Cold Case where the story was a guy going to one of the late night screenings, and singing the songs and this and that. And of course he dies, and they try to figure out what happened that night. And I was his boss at the grill, and all the kids, it was like really like campy, and they used the font from Rocky Horror Picture Show, and it was a lot of fun being involved that way as well. And I worked with from bless his name. Phantom of the Paradise. I worked with Beef.
Billion? Oh, wow.
Whoa!
That's awesome.
He was my henchman. I was on Lois and Clark. I was the evil Dr. Light, and he was my henchman. But he couldn't have been more fun. And I can't think of his name. He was in
Meatloaf.
Yeah, no, that wasn't.
No, it wasn't Meatloaf. It was
Garrett
Graham.
Garrett Graham.
Paul?
Garrett
Garrett
Graham. He's the one that where they put the plunger in his face. He goes, "Don't
Yeah.
you like punks?" And he goes, "This place is possessed." Yeah, he was great.
I know
So,
drug
anyway.
from real. Yeah.
It's a little bit more trivia before I disappear.
Thank you. It meant so much for y'all to come. I mean, obviously we love Back to the Beach. It means a lot to a lot of people. And I hope one day we can have the Blu-ray just came out not too long ago, which was a really kick-ass Blu-ray.
Really beautiful.
Well,
Blu-ray.
awesome.
Yeah.
Really.
Awesome.
So I would love a screening, and I would love for y'all to see the love and the admiration for this
We should
movie.
do it on the beach screening where you bit the big screen, and we'll do it right there on, was it Broad Beach? What was it called? Where did we film? Around the bend there?
Oh, Zuma.
Okay,
Zuma.
right. You would go to
Zuma.
Zuma, normal Zuma,
Yeah.
but this was hidden. It was hidden.
Oh, that's
behind
right.
the
It was around the corner. That's right.
Yeah.
What was that called? God, you're right.
special name for it, but apparently they filmed right turning that next corner. That's where the Statue of Liberty was in the Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
Where he
didn't know
comes,
that.
Charlton Heston
Wow.
comes around on a horse. Oh yeah,
Wow.
I knew that because I was a freak about Planet of the Apes. Trivia: Who wrote the screenplay for the first Planet of the Apes? Anybody?
Rod Sterling.
Rod Serling. Very good. Yes.
Nice. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. I mean, wow.
Nerd.
But
I watch
we
watch Twilight Zone almost every night before I go to sleep. I have the best dreams after. So
Well, I'm manifesting this in the universe. We're gonna have a shadow cast, and Darren will be Annette. Helena will be Connie Stevens. Randy will be Lori Loughlin. Polly will be Pee Wee Herman. I guess I can be you, Tommy, and we'll have to find a mountain and and a Frankie Avalon.
We'll make
I'll
it
keep
happen.
Oh my
We'll
God.
make this work. We will
Reprising
make this
Roll as
work.
Mountain. Yes.
And yet, we would make this work. Tommy, you could be Frankie Avalon.
Good call.
I might be too old.
And God bless Frankie Avalon. I wish he was here with us, but he's here in spirit.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
look up his horror movie. It's worth a watch, even though it's
Bloodsaw. Bloodsaw. 1982.
I gotta see that. I gotta see
Yeah.
that.
I'm thinking the same thing.
My other claim to fame, two things people recognize me for. They don't recognize me at all. UHF, the Weird Al movie, and 90210, the original. I was the stalker. I played
Yes,
Garrett
Yes.
Slam or whatever.
I
And,
remember that.
So Frankie was a serial killer, and I was a stalker, and we made Back to the Beach together. So that was fun. No, I actually had a police come up to me at my table. I was in Palm Springs at Consuelos, the Mexican place, and just packed, a lot of people. And the police walk up to my table and they go, "Excuse me, someone called us and said that they saw you on America's Most Wanted, that you're a stalker, that you're wanted for." And I go, "No, I'm on a Fox show called 90210." Where I play a stalker. I was that good that this waitress called the police and said,
Oh my
"There's a
God.
stalker here. There's a guy here. It's very scary. Please come." So, true story.
Well, okay, since you mentioned Palm Springs, the reunion for Back to the Beach, Caliente Tropics, Palm Springs, by the pool.
Yes, I like it.
I like
Yeah.
it.
I'm in.
We'll make it happen.
You'll have so many queens out there and want to be funny and be queens on parade. I'm telling you. But thank y'all so much. It's meant so much for us to have y'all here. I mean, it's very surreal when you grow up loving people and you grow up loving the musicals that they're in, and that they're so cool and down to earth. It really does us a lot of good. It sounds like it's medicine, it's therapeutic, but it does. I mean, they say don't meet your heroes, but the people that we love with these cult musicals, everybody has just been so nice. And it means so much that y'all take the time to talk with us and to share stories with us and inside information. It just means a lot to us. And people love this movie, obviously.
Thank you guys so much. It
Yeah,
really
thank
means
you.
a lot to me. And I know it does. David, he can speak for himself, but you know what? It is. It was a special movie. It was a special movie, and I really appreciate that you guys are kind of still keeping it fresh. And it's good. Feels good.
Absolutely. I think the more people who just get a chance to see it will appreciate it now more than ever. Just because it wasn't like what was it, Firebrand or whatever, or they're trying to bend the envelope, or I'm not saying anything correct right now. But you know what I mean? It was a take on it where it was punk, and it was
It's
I
kitsch
think
punk.
that the son was great. He had a big role.
Damian
I think
Slade.
Yeah, Damien was impressive because he really was kind of like, he didn't really care. He was going, there and there, and he was ruling the roost. But there was something about him that I thought, I don't know, he was a different movie. Like he was in a different movie. His voiceover, does that make sense? I don't know.
Okay, look at. I'm going to say this before you sign off. I think it's important. I know David feels it as well. David and I know why the movie wasn't as successful initially as it could have been. And I think it's obvious. I think you will all agree with me. David and I were not in the movie poster.
That's true.
I'm just saying, had we been featured in the movie poster, I think it would have blown up.
Yes, absolutely.
You're not on the album either.
What?
Okay, double whammy.
Not okay.
Double-
Not okay.
Double
No.
whammy.
Yep.
Oh
So
well.
I'm trying
But
to see.
y'all will be at the screening.
Oh,
We're
there's a
gonna
tiny
make a
picture of
movie,
you on the back.
We're gonna make a movie someday, Tommy, where it's just you and me on the poster. All right.
Okay.
I'm a
done.
graphic
And we'll
designer,
get
I can
Connie
help.
Stevens. We'll get Connie
Send me your
Stevens to come
headshots.
to it.
Yeah.
She's still with us. God love her.
I emailed her. I Googled. I told them it was funny. I was like, I found out that Connie Stevens is still with us and she's in a retirement home. I said, I'll bother anybody for an interview. If I have that, I'll find out. I will find out. I will find out what place she's in and say, it's an emergency. Could you please have Connie Stevens call me?
Pepper pig.
Be like, I
Well,
left
I
you
know
in
if I-
I left you in Back to the Beach.
If I asked Jolie wasn't in the movie, of course, but she has so many great stories. I'm sure she would join in one of these. So I'm trying to think of what musicals she's been in. Has Jolie been in any musicals? I don't know.
I'm sure she has. She's got a beautiful voice.
She's been in.
Oh,
She goes to. She sings at vibrato, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't she? She'll perform. Yeah, she's
Yep.
great.
Yep. And she's also our SAG vice president.
Yeah, and I did a movie with our president, of course, Fran Drescher. She was in UHF, the Weird Al
He
movie.
was. I love Fran Drescher. The
Me
nanny.
too.
She
The nanny.
decided, by the way, that David Bowe was her boyfriend in Tulsa. Like if she did anything, I had to go. I had to be there. We're gonna go see a movie tonight. She took me to go see Oklahoma live. A play. While we were filming. I don't know.
You guys
I mean,
had
it's
a
not like
romantic date at Spatula
It's not
City.
like we made out or anything. She was married, but it's like while we were there, I was her little, her fella. Yeah.
You had a romantic date at Spatula City.
Yes.
Nice.
Where did you get
Well,
that?
listen, really appreciate it, you guys. Everybody,
Thank you so
I wish
much.
you guys the best.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll all get to cross paths again. You guys
We
take care.
will at the beach. Bye.
All right. We'll see
We'll
you
go
later.
on
Bye,
forever.
David.
Thank you guys so much. Love you,
Thank
Tommy.
you.
Love you back.
Bye.